Okay, my clowns aren't coming, so we're going to just wing it right now. I'll just read the questions off this piece of paper I made. Hello, it's me. I can't see it from there, so we're going to move up a little bit. Good afternoon, Dr. Bates. Thanks for inviting me in. Thanks for... Hard without having the questions read. Hello, Dr. Bates. As you know, I'm Mike Emerson. I was born and raised here in Pullman. I would like to be a parapro in your school, Sunnyside Elementary, as I further my education and work on my elementary education degree. I'm going to be going to LCSC this after Christmas online, and that's when I will be starting this job here as a parapro. I look forward to it, and I'm excited for the opportunity to be here in your school. My strengths are definitely my willingness to change when necessary. I've already noticed a lot of instances when simple things like, for a parapro is important, simple things like when a recess changes from outdoor to indoor is a very big deal for the parapros because we have to be ready to completely shift gears. That's one of the most important things for a parapro, I think, is because the students are expected to shift gears instantly, and somebody has to be online with that, and it seems to be us that are expected to do that, which is fine. That's my job, and I look for. I actually enjoy that, the different surprises as the day goes along. The way I like to communicate most with others is by example. I like that's why I want to work with kids, because kids tend to I think watch a lot more what you do and emulate what you do, and that is how I try to communicate everything that I do. My feelings, I try to show my feelings. I try to show what I expect from others by what I do, and I hope that they follow my example. And I know it works because I can tell kids here already, just in this 1 year, I can tell it's a big responsibility, but I can see that a lot of the male students have picked up some of my mannerisms and some of my, the way I walk, even the way I carry myself, and that's good because I'm a pretty respectful person, but it leads to a lot of responsibility because I have to watch constantly what I say and do. It's something I'm willing to take on for myself here. The steps for handling an irate parent. That's something that I deal with actually a couple times a week minimum already in here. In this small town setting, it's easy, very easy to come upon a parent in the grocery store, at Walmart, at the park, wherever it might be, and the kid comes up, runs up and hugs you, and the parent's looking at you like, who are you, or whatever, and then they come and talk to me, and I say, I'm Mr. Mike from Mrs. Kerner's class, I'm a volunteer, and it starts instantly with, why didn't Johnny pass his last test, or why was Johnny held in for recess, or why was Susie forced to miss PE last week, and it really is giving me a crash course on dealing with parents because I can't tell them anything. It's not my position, it's not my job, I can't tell them anything. All I have to do is just try to keep the situation, keep the lid on the situation. I've had no problem with that so far, and I know as a teacher it's even more, and that's something that I'm still going to go to school for. As a parapro in school, I should never come into contact with a parent. It shouldn't be a problem. I haven't talked to a parent yet in school this year, so that should be pertinent. My ability to make decisions under pressure comes into play every day. It's my responsibility to see to it that Tyler gets to where he needs to be, and that his time is spent learning and not between classes. He needs to be from one class to the next, and that's where the pressure builds, because I have to account for that time between classes. I have to know where he is. Excuse me, even Alden, to a certain extent, I have to know where he is at all times, because if he's in the hall or if he's in the gym when he's supposed to be at his IEP, at his next IEP session, that's my responsibility. If that was legally time that they have to be in IEP, and if I can't account for that time, that's my responsibility already as a volunteer, and that's something that I take very seriously. The easiest decisions for me to make are probably the simple ones, obviously. The ones, do we go to outdoor recess? If it's raining, we don't. If it's snowing, if it's below 28 degrees, we don't. Those are the simplest ones. The ones that are on paper are always easy, because that's why they're on paper, because they're easy, and somebody way up above me made them because they were easy. The hardest decisions for me to make are the ones that affect the children when they go home, because I know that there's decisions that are made here that follow the kid home, and it's hard on me to think about, from my experiences as a child, to think about how they might be being punished at home a second time. That's the hardest decision, is do we send home, do I even tell Mrs. Kerner about what happened if she's going to send that information home and they're going to get in trouble twice if I make them stand on the wall for recess? That's a small example, but if I make them stand at the wall for recess, and then I tell Mrs. Kerner and she sends a note home, is Dad going to ground him again? That's twice punished for, that's the hardest decision that I make at my job now, and that's my job. 5 years from now, I want to be in Pullman. I want to be working in the Pullman School District as a elementary education teacher. I want to have my master's degree by then. That's a reasonable goal. And I want to be a certified and grounded teacher at Sunnyside, preferably, but in the district for sure, definitely in the district. Why you should hire me, I think, is because I am a local. I am from here. I was born here. I was raised here. I'm not going anywhere else. I have no desire to go anywhere else, and I think that's a huge plus for this district, and I think it's something that every employer in this town needs to start working on, including the big campus on the hill. They need to start hiring local people that aren't wanting to go somewhere, that aren't using this town as a stepping stone. I think that's my biggest attribute, I guess you'd call it. I think that's my biggest thing that I can bring to this school is consistency. I'm not going anywhere. I have 25 years left to work, and I want to spend it here in this district teaching. I don't want to go to anywhere else. The biggest question I have, and it's one that again every day it comes up, is I don't really see, and I'm a volunteer now. I know I haven't been an employee yet, but when I come back, I'd like to have a little, I don't know if it's a list, but I don't see really who answers to who as far as parapros. Is it a parapro by the date you're hired, or is it by how much education? Because I'm going to have more education than any parapro here when I get back. And when I first start as an employee, I'm going to have more education as any parapros. That would put me above them. I know it shouldn't matter, but it does, because I need to know who I answer to. Do I answer to each student I work with? Do I answer to that individual teacher, that student's teacher? I know I answer ultimately to you and then Dr. Superintendent, but I don't, as far as where I'm at, and you're way up here, do I answer to the next parapro that was hired right before me, and then they go up higher, or do I answer to Mrs. Bruyere, and then she goes up to you? Or that's my only question that I would have about that. And the rules, the recess rules. I would like to have a list of recess rules that are the same for every recess. Or do I make up my own rules for when I'm out at recess? Do I follow Mrs. Bruyer's rules when she's there and when she's not there? Because it seems to be different rules depending on who is out there. That's all the questions I have. Thank you, sir. I'll be back. I look forward to starting January 7th, I think, and I'll be back. Peace out. My girls didn't show up. Still.